Snyder. I can go by the name of Rosie. My topic today is on why juveniles should be tried as an adult if the crime committed was murder, sexual assault, and rape. According to the Justice Department, it is estimated that 10% of all homicides are committed by juveniles under the age of 18. According to the FBI, every year there are more than 33,000 juveniles arrested. As everyone knows, this is a very sensitive topic. Not everyone is in favor of juveniles being tried as an adult, and not everyone will agree with my opinion. There are many people who are in favor of the court giving less harsher punishments for those criminals or juveniles, as you say, that have committed felony crimes. I personally believe that if a juvenile is aware of the extremity of the crime they're committing, then they should be mentally prepared for the consequence that comes with that crime. For example, if a juvenile knows that murder comes with the consequence of spending the rest of their life in prison without parole, why risk themselves in committing such a gruesome crime? Believe it or not, there are juveniles who commit such crimes just for fun. There are juveniles who premeditate these type of crimes and they get away with it. For example, that case in Pennsylvania back in 2009 where a boy called Jordan Brown, age of 11, was accused of murdering his dad's fiance and her unborn baby. Unfortunately, this 11-year-old was tried as a juvenile. So, this case makes it seem like it's excusable to murder somebody else at such a young age and not get punished for it. I mean, the state thinks that sending the kid to a juvenile detention center until he's 21 is a fair punishment for taking not only one life away, but two. So, I take this case as a great example because now the family of this victim not only is furious, but is left with their daughter's murder unjustified. Sadly, there were many people who were in favor of this decision, who thought that this decision was the best decision that the court could have made, because according to society, a kid who committed murder at age 11 doesn't have a good understanding of the crime they've committed, which in my opinion is totally insane to those people who actually think that. I honestly think that society is being very lenient to these juveniles who are committing felony crimes. We are giving them the green light to go ahead and reoffend. We are, in other words, telling them, yes, it's okay for a juvenile under the age of 18 to commit murder, and the maximum he could receive is some months in a juvenile detention center, some community hours, and maybe some probation. What example are we setting to society? What example are we setting to our children? Unfortunately, when I grew up in New York, for 13 years, I witnessed a lot of gang members stealing, assaulting women, and it's sad because most of these gang members were juveniles that were lied into a lifestyle, because these leaders of these gangs, they promise so much stuff. They promise that they'll make money, they'll promise that they'll get out of that poor lifestyle, when in reality they're, in other words, obligating these juveniles to rob, to rape women, to murder people. So at the end of the day, these juveniles are left with no dignity. And the sad part of it is that the majority of these juveniles that are gang members end up dead or in prison. They might end up dead by their rival gang members, or even their own gang members. If, for example, if a leader is sent one of these juveniles to complete a task and that task is not completed, unfortunately, not only does that gang member end up dead, but their family also pays for it. My question is, does the Juvenile Justice Act have to change when it comes to juveniles committing felony crimes? And should there be a change in all states? Not only in one state, but in all. In my personal opinion, it's the crime, not the criminal's age, that should determine sentencing. Because you know what? A juvenile can be the age of 14 and committed petty theft. Then yeah, he or she should be given the chance to go to a juvenile detention center and rehabilitate. But individual who say is 12, 13 and is committing murder just for the fun of it, why should that individual be given the green light to be sent into a juvenile detention center, get released at the age of 21, and commit more serious crimes? Now we don't. Not only there is now one victim, but there is several when this juvenile is released, and that is what society does not take in consideration. Just because it's a child who committed the crime, it does not mean that the crime is not committed. It does not mean that the victim did not suffer. It does not mean that just because it was a child who committed the crime, the family does not continue to suffer. Although the sentences for juveniles who commit murder may seem extreme for society, in a murder trial, the juvenile's behavior in taking the life of another individual should not be ignored because of their age. For example, what makes it different from a juvenile and an adult that has committed the same crime, that has caused the same suffering? What makes it different? Just because the juvenile is under 18, that's the only reason why that juvenile should be given the chance to be released at age of 21, live their life normal with just a simple memory of what he or she did. Whereas to an adult who commit the same crime, then yeah, that person should spend the rest of their life of jail just because he was an adult and he knew what he was doing. So what makes you think that a juvenile does not know what he or she is doing when committing a crime? What makes that juvenile different from an adult? Society thinks just because that juveniles their brain aren't developed as an adult is, then yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I personally believe that if a juvenile has that is capable of committing such a gruesome crime without remorse, then why shouldn't that individual be punished just like an adult would? And that is what society has to realize. That just because a juvenile is age 11 does not mean that that individual knew what he was doing. Because believe it or not, there are juveniles who commit these crimes that they plan them out, that they wake up that morning specifically with that mindset of going out there and hurting another individual. And these juveniles are given that second chance to go ahead and reoffend. Because that's all society is giving them, a second chance to go ahead and reoffend. Age, you gain certain privileges. You achieve certain rewards, such as voting rights, the ability to purchase a house, the ability to purchase tobacco products at your local gas station, but most importantly, the ability to be held responsible for your own actions. The age 18 sounds like a very big deal for most teens nowadays. Why is it? Hey, because now they're considered an adult in nearly every state. What most 18-year-olds don't like about turning 18 is that if they do commit a crime, they're not tried as a juvenile anymore. So, turning 18 comes in play to a lot of situations. Now, my question to you guys is, does 2, 3, 4 years younger make much of a difference? Is it fair for a 17-year-old to be tried as a juvenile, rather an 18-year-old who is just 5 months older to spend their rest of their life in a prison when committing the same crime as that juvenile? We're just giving that green light for them to go ahead and reoffend when they're released from that juvenile detention center. And that's what society does not realize. For example, this case of this 11-year-old. Society agreed with the court having him tried as a juvenile. Originally, he was going to be tried as an adult. But they appealed, and I guess the court decided that having him in a juvenile detention center until the age of 21, he was now going to learn from his crime and become a better person. But what guarantees society that this juvenile will be released with a different mindset? What guarantees society that this juvenile is not going to be released and commit more gruesome crimes? Because yes, according to societies, this was just a jealousy and a crime that this juvenile committed just because he did not want his dad with this fiance of his, because now he was going to have, a different family. But that doesn't justify that this 11-year-old could literally go to this woman's room while she's sleeping and shoot her in her head with a shotgun. Because to my understanding, if this boy knows how to use a shotgun and is that, capable of waiting till this woman falls asleep to murder her, in my opinion, that was planned out. This boy knows what he was doing, was aiming for that specific result, and hey, now he's going to be released at age 21. Who knows if this juvenile is going to learn his lesson? Who knows if he's going to come back out doing worse crimes? All because society believed that it was correct for him to be sent to a juvenile court. People, you guys are not realizing the danger we're imposing to our children. It's a danger not to our children, but to society as a whole. And there should be a change. There should be a change in that Juvenile Justice Act. There should be a law that every juvenile that commits crimes such as murder, rape, assault, regardless of their age, should be tried as an adult. Regardless if they're 9, regardless if they're 10. Because put it this way, yeah, he could spend from 9 to 21 years old in a juvenile detention center, or less time than that, because there are cases where they spend less time than that. They're given community service hours, and sadly, most of these cases end up in prison because these juveniles end up getting released, end up reoffending, and then society says, oh, wait, I didn't know this juvenile wasn't going to learn. Well, giving that benefit of the doubt can lead to serious crimes. So, in my conclusion, I do believe that juveniles should be tried as an adult if the crimes committed are felonies. Misdemeanor crimes, well then, yeah, they should be given that second chance to rehabilitate and learn from their actions. Other than that, I hope society gets a wake-up call with so many cases that have been going on, so many gruesome crimes that have been committed from juveniles, and all the court does is give them a tap on the hand, because trying them as a juvenile is literally giving them a tap on the hand. Hopefully my presentation is as persuasive as I tried it to be. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.